purpose. Like, I don't do media because it's fun. I have something to say and I have a motivation.
You're listening to the ProStatus Podcast.
Welcome to the first ever episode of ProStatus.
I'm Jesse.
I'm Drake.
So Drake and I, we work in the production industry, and specifically we work in live events. We also do post-production, commercial projects, and things like that. Well versed in many things, but live is definitely our jam.
Yep. Anything from audio, video, lighting, that's what we do. So the whole AVL package, and then post. We do a lot of post work on all of our projects.
So why the heck are you listening? Well, this is our new podcast. And honestly, we've been really attempting to do this for the last 2 years, probably.
Yep, it's been a while.
And
we're finally recording for the first time.
We used to, the first version of this was going to be called Long Ride Home, because if you're in production, you know, the post-event conversations on the drives or during the travel are just anywhere from Bigfoot to...
And at the time, we were driving a lot. There's a group of us that kept driving to our events. And so we're like, let's name this Long Ride Home and record our podcast in the car, which never happened. That would have been some great content, but that never happened.
And honestly, I don't know if I wanted my mom to hear all those conversations. So, so what we're doing now is we're starting ProStatus, and what that means to us is, you know, if you're working in any area of our life, we want to be the best that we can be. You know, that could be a professional mom, that could be, you know, a pastor, it could be a business person. Mm-hmm. But when we say ProStatus, what we're really saying is that how do you be the best version of yourself? And we're going to be talking about all of those things on how to be the best, how to show up, to be present, to be powerful, to have a voice of authority, to be someone who has integrity. And specifically, we're saying all those things through the filter of a production professional.
Yep. Since we work in the professional industry, we are going to talk about how to be a pro in your work area, but also since our work is production, we're going to talk mostly with the glasses of, or the filter of being in production.
Yeah. And again, it's about having a perspective on life and the work that we do. Mm-hmm. And those are the things that aren't often talked about that really separate pros from just being average or mediocre. So that's definitely what we're about. We're super stoked. We're going to jump into some of the things that we are going to be covering.
Yeah. So it's not going to be just Jesse and I the whole time. So you're not going to get bored listening to our podcast. Since we're in the production industry, we're going to have guests. Some of those guests might be like Chris Greeley, Chad Vegas, those types of people that we work with and also are very pro in their industry. We actually have a long list of people that we want to have on the podcast and interview and ask questions.
Yeah, we actually have something around 30 people lined up on our list that we have lined up to interview. And they're all people from either from corporate or church production or have at least industry experience in the production space. Yeah. And they're all recognized as professionals in what they do. Most of these guys we actually know really well, or well enough to know that they're high level, high caliber, high integrity people.
They hit the ProStatus mark.
ProStatus mark. Absolutely. So we're definitely going to be diving deep into that. We also have a lot of user feedback already. And so we'll be answering a lot of your questions the best that we can.
Gathering lots of data from multiple social media accounts that we have to collect this data and these questions. So we took all these questions and we compiled it into a list that made more sense instead of being random. Audio specific questions, lighting specific questions, video specific questions, and then even like team building questions and how you build a team, whether that's staff or volunteers. Those types of questions are all there, and we compiled them to make more sense so we can actually ask our guests these questions and give you better answers and feedback.
So I think what we should do is probably answer a question to ourselves, since this is episode 1.
Yep. And there's no guest this time. It's just Jesse and I were launching this thing.
We probably should answer a question like, we just described what a ProStatus is. And we said a little bit about what we do. Yeah, I think I'll say this. So I do work in the church or faith-based production space, probably as much as I do work in the corporate space. And one of the things I've learned is most people in the commercial or corporate space carry a lot of ego and pride, which can be good and bad. But I think ultimately they're there to collect a paycheck. Yeah. And I'll say this all the time. Like for me, when I'm training my guys, I say, if you're working for me, you're not showing up just to capture or get good coverage, which is a common term for broadcasts. Like, oh man, this is great coverage, right? That's not what we do. We look at it as, we're approaching an event or whatever it is that we're doing. And we want to wear the filter. Hey, how are we adding value? What's the extra contribution that we're making? Like, how do we insert ourselves into this culture? These guys are paying us to be the professionals, and they're not paying us to just do the minimum. They're paying to have an experience, right? Mm-hmm. Part of being a professional is creating those experiences that people want and will keep you getting hired. And, for me, I have a purpose. Like, I don't do media because it's fun. I do it because I have a conviction, and I feel like I have something to say, and I have a motivation. Mm-hmm. And so when I get up in the morning, I'm not thinking, how am I making money? I'm wondering how am I going to make an impact? Mm-hmm. And one of the most rewarding things in the world is when you get to activate somebody's big dream and you get to facilitate that through and show them what could be done and actually execute on it and just blow their mind. And I've had many talks where people are just literally in tears because you've literally partnered with a dream that they have, and their life and all the lives that they're a part of are impacted by that. Mm-hmm. And you get to be the instigator, and you're just a media guy. It's just amazing. It's a beautiful thing.
The other thing, and this is agreeing with Jesse, is up until the beginning of 2018, I toured a lot. And on those tours, they were all Christian-based tours, but we worked with a lot of people in the secular industry, whether that was the local hands hired per venue or the tech staff from the production companies that we were working with that traveled with us. Most of them not Christians. Again, just there for the paycheck. That's what their job is. That's what they're doing. But after working with us, most of these tours are 2 weeks at a time. And some of them, the same production team comes back, and we're doing 4 or 5 of these tours a year. So we're working with them for a couple months. And most of them, they don't quite know what it is, but they are like, it is so incredible working with your team. And we're actually impacting them without even purposely trying to impact their lives. And that's not what we're here to do. At the same time, we're here to work a job as well. But just by being who we are and bringing what we are bringing to the table, we're impacting these people without even really trying, that are used to working in the secular industry, in mainstream media and those types of events, and coming to work with us. They're like, you can tell that their lives are being changed just by working with us for a couple months.
Yeah. I think one thing, I was talking to somebody actually yesterday, it was kind of a coaching call. And one of the things that came out that I thought was really cool, right? So a lot of you guys are faith-based, and you're hearing us say some confident things right now. And what was so cool, right? Like, it's interesting. It's a different season. But what's interesting is, like, if you're not there yet, it's okay. But I can tell you, when you start having influence, you realize you start getting in these leadership positions, and a true leader is incredibly humbled. Like, you live your life at another level of humility and service to others. I just want to point that out. Like, it's huge. So, we're striving to be ProStatus, to live this higher standard. And I just want to point out that really this podcast and the stories that you're going to hear are in effort to equip people, to educate, to entertain, and really just to serve you guys. So would love to hear your feedback. Looking forward to the next session. We're going to start our first interview probably in session 2 or episode 2. Yep. And we'll be back. So until then, that's a wrap.
Thanks for listening to the ProStatus podcast. Be sure to go to the website and download all the episode details.